Zach Sports Talk again, and this time I want to kind of talk about labor matters as it relates to sports and what sports perhaps can teach the rest of society about how to go about recruiting and looking for talent. I think the workforce is certainly changing now. A lot of sectors of society and work and labor, are having to adjust and adapt to to technology and social media and influencer culture and social promotion. That I think actually does, what some people call virtual natives. People who are changing the way we live and we work and changing the nature of work, and that can be a good thing. Taking more ownership, more control over work. But I think sports can also kind of give us some insights into what we can do in the rest of society. Oftentimes we, ask for talent to look for work, and I think and apply for positions, and I think that certainly has need in society. It certainly has conventional status, but I think it'll be more incumbent upon businesses and corporations that are looking for talent, and some are doing that now through some of those websites, Indeed, LinkedIn, and others. But I think more can be done. There's a lot of talented people everywhere looking for work, people in jobs and in places that want to have their skills to be transferable to other sectors, maybe jobs and labor that they haven't considered doing. And so it's a matter of vision and re-envisioning and rethinking, reinventing on the part of employers, but also on the part of business and corporations and higher ups and boards to think about how they can take their business or their vision to another level. And so, but let's think about what sports teams do, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, or whatever major professional sport. They have scouts and they have talent who, we have, some of those in place in terms of, headhunters or people who are looking for talent. But I don't think we maximize that potential in the way that sports teams do. There are people who have positions 24/7 to look for talent. And of course, we know that goes not just for professional, but it goes to even, primary, elementary, and even middle school level, to where you have, AAU leagues and being developed and put together. And you have off of that, you have shoe corporations and companies building cultures around, professional sport and the recruitment of talent, or the persuasion of using culture to persuade young people, are taking the culture of young people and using that as a sort of job marketing tool to try to, recruit people for positions, players, in order to join camps or become a part of camps, and thus, get into the pipeline of becoming athletes, which is a whole other conversation we can talk about later in terms of, higher education, collegiate sports, and the whole matter of the separation, not just of church and state and society, but separation of scholar and student, because, we have a lot of dollars coming to universities and colleges, but it doesn't go to scholars and students, particularly who are athletes, both scholars and students. So we need to make sure that there's more of a sort of a flow of those dollars for scholarships to students who may want to be engineers, who may want to be architects, who may want to be teachers, as well as those who are athletes. But even those who are athletes are also students and scholars too. So that's a whole nother conversation we can have at another time. But other labor issues also we can talk about more so is the whole gender wage gap, and even the racial wealth gap that's connected to from different generations of players to now. But also with the recent documentary or recent special on Amazon, Power of a Dream, that talks about the history of the WNBA, and the incredible way in which those professional players have really, excited, fans, but also in struggle have forged a path. And I think one of the interesting insights that was highlighted in the initial part of that special was the labor, wage gap, the gender wage gap, where I think in 2009, Angel McCoughtry, who a talented, star at that time, I think of the Atlanta Dream, was, I think, making $44,000 a year. And I think the base salary for WNBA players at that time, around that time, was $39,676. That's the bare minimum, the base salary for NBA players, even those who rode benches, 543,000, excuse me, 471,000. There's a difference of 500 and some thousand dollars. We're not even talking about the superstar players. And even, the players who would go on to renegotiate contracts and then get even, more whopping contracts and salaries. I mean, it's interesting when you think about it. But, those are something we need to talk about. But it's about, how do we place value on people? And how do we ascertain or come to know and associate value or talent to people? I think that's why sports can provide an interesting way of employers and labor, even labor unions. How labor unions can also reassess how they negotiate for wages for talent. But if you value people, then you're going to pay people for what they're worth, right? And particularly when you see that their talent has, in terms of supply and demand or supply and interest, it has a greater interest in society, then you're going to try to capitalize and monetize off of that. And there'll be more than enough to go around, hopefully. And so there shouldn't be those gaps in terms of wages and pay. But, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But again, looking at the whole, subject of, what, jobs and workforces can learn from sports, you can put together whole units to analyze and assess how you can look for talent. And even people who are in different sectors of society and have had different majors or, maybe went to technical school or, don't have a lot of training or preparation, they have a lot of innate abilities and can offer a lot of contributions to workforces and to employers and to jobs and to businesses and corporations. But it's about how you look at it, how we see people and how we envision talent. And so, I say that about scholars and students. If we can see, and even I say that about teachers and other people, if we can see those people akin to stars, with celebrity status, then maybe, we can raise their level of pay. And because they're already doing incredible work every day for wages that don't necessarily, parallel to what their talents show on a daily basis. And for a lot of people, wealth's not associated and not a synonym for wages are not a synonym for wealth, because what we make every day is what kind of keeps us afloat. But in order to have wealth, that means we have to be able to store stuff away. And most people don't. Most people live in paycheck to paycheck. Even people who work in $60,000 jobs or such, and I do, support the efforts of senators like Senator Bernie Sanders and others who are calling for teachers to make at least $60,000 a year. Actually, it should be $100,000, to be perfectly honest. You mean tell me you're going to entrust your kids, to people who are making, less than $60,000? I mean, they do great work, incredible work, but I would feel so much better, and teachers would be so much more, interested and participatory and excited if they're making $100,000 base salary. I mean, just imagine it. We have what it takes. And then we think about, those corporations that make in a quarter millions and millions of dollars. I mean, so if we're going to talk about public-private partnerships and partnering with school systems and other places, other, systems of labor or, other institutions, then, hey, we can make that kind of stuff happen. And just think about that in terms of the interconnected nature of labor and in society, that, those teachers are teaching students who then will become fan bases for NBA and WNBA players and teams. So, I mean, it's all connected, so of course we want to pay teachers what they're worth so that teachers can go and support NBA, WNBA teams. And, we can then keep the pipeline going for the next generation of players and executives and other leaders. But, we're going back to the whole notion and idea of how, sports can influence labor. If we had entire units to look for teachers, and we didn't have teachers go through all the hoops and hurdles in terms of teacher certification. If you have people go through teacher certification hoops and hurdles, then pay them more than $60,000. That's like going through gauntlets and going through basic training. Are you serious? Have you been in schools? I have. I've been in schools substituting this year, in addition to working, for a nonprofit to help, improve Black healthcare. for communities of color, for African American communities. Those teachers do an incredible job every day with young people that are wired and have a lot of energy and a lot of potential and a lot of ability. So yeah, they should make at least $100,000. I mean, come on. So, but most state legislators are not in schools. They don't substitute. They don't know what teachers are having to do and go through. So they have no idea what it's like. And most people think once they talked about, because I come from a working class background, most people who representing people in state legislators don't have a working class background, regardless of color, regardless of political affiliation. So people talk about representing the working class, all this kind of stuff. Well, get some people, working class people to run for office. That's a way to show that you care about working people, And then those working people's ideas that are natural and come natural to people can be instituted into policies and practices instead of some of this garbage that people put together, that people package as laws and public policy that's so arcane, archaic, and just frankly, and just utterly, silly or stupid. And most people feel as if, well, why should we vote? Because do we have a say so whether or not, particular kind of laws come into place? Well, we can have more, to say about that, but we need political parties. We need people envisioning, ways in which we can increase and enlarge that table so that people can, from different backgrounds and different experiences and different thought processes, can participate. But again, just imagine if we had, scouts, to recruit the best teachers. I mean, I think some private groups are kind of doing that, but it's still kind of cumbersome. Sports has a way of, exciting people and bringing a fan base and bringing people to the table. So, we should find ways to say, well, why don't we put together, ways in which we can recruit, talented people to your business and your corporation. And then, then bring those people, in and let those people go to work and build workforces around those people, around that talent, in the ways that sports teams, have a way of doing when they have vision and they have a keen understanding and an interest in talent. So that can be helpful, and I think we can build a full economy, full labor force that's contributing, where we can have our financial sectors and the so-called free market flowing to where we have every sector of society, getting resources, local and rural and urban and states of different sorts, can be overflowing in terms of revenue rather than having budget shortfalls. And part of it's just, reinventing and rethinking how we do stuff that can matter. So it's exciting to see sports, because sports, has a way of bringing people together across different lines, and sports has a lot to teach. Of course, you have, executives and general managers who, are making a good bid compared to players, but that's where you also have, contract negotiations and labor, unions who are able to play a role in trying to bring more parity, more equity between, the labor force and, the higher ups. But most, in terms of bargaining units in professional sports, particularly NBA, and let's just say WNBA, as it continues to grow a great fan base in the recent game between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever, showing that there's a lot of interest and talent in women's sports. I mean, I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one of the capitals of women's professional sports, and they should have a WNBA team here, right? For instance, or even New Orleans, right? I think may have had one before, but there's a way which we can maximize the interests and the passions of people, but we can be much more inclusive. And so, it's interesting to see, how, all that can be used to put together a more comprehensive, approach to labor and work in our society. So, I'm hopeful about that. But it's how do we, find ways to bring more people to the table, to get more people involved and participating and excited. So, just look at how, sports, executives, do in terms of they have, talent to make talent better. They have trainers who are able to, get players, to where they need to be, and so, that's more akin to kind of, I guess, professional development. But I think we can use a sports eye within other labor sectors of society, in order to change and maybe even say revolutionize how we, approach different institutions and work in labor forces. So, and hopefully we certainly want people to get as excited about, schools and teaching and healthcare and, and other, jobs and workforces as we are excited about sports. But just imagine sports at one point, really is only an invention of over 100 years or so. So it's still fairly recent, and so over that course of time, there's been a euphoria and a passion and thrill and excitement that's built around the culture of sports. And so, it's integrated in every aspect of every part of our lives, because most people are, trying to find ways to attend, a sports event or to go to a local bar or, going to meet with family and friends to watch, whatever the latest sports, show is. And, we gather with food around sports tables and in sports, events every day. And so, there's a way in which we can reinvent and recreate, other types of labor and jobs, not only to where we can make that more inclusive, but actually enable people to have more of a inclusive and full participatory full participation in, in the rest of society and taking the fruits of their labor and being able to use that in order to enjoy, attending sports events or attending other places, of fun and, and frolic. So, hopefully, there's a lot that we can envision and think about in that way to create more synergy between, sports culture, sports labor and practice, and labor and practice in other areas and sectors of society. So just some thoughts on that. We'll come back and future lives, and hopefully and we'll post some of this and hopefully talk about other thoughts, and give me your thoughts and comments on what you'd like to see us talk about on this page. Hopefully like and subscribe to this channel, because we need supporters, and hopefully we can build a even better base to where we can make this more of a professional is a talk show, to where maybe at some point I can do much more with this page, and hopefully go more places and talk much more about sports, maybe even internationally, which would be nice. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.